Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today at our first competition in the AgeWell National Impact Challenge. This is the Atlantic Canada edition, and we're excited to show you 5 pitches from fantastic and dedicated entrepreneurs. Following this, we're going to have a short live panel discussion on the future of innovation in technology and aging as we prepare to announce the winners. The audience is going to have an opportunity to submit questions, so stay tuned for details on how you can do that. We'll also be announcing the audience winner of the Kobo Clara HDE reader later on. And for those of you in the audience who have not engaged with AgeWell in the past, to give you a little bit of an introduction, AgeWell is Canada's technology and aging network, and we bring together researchers, older adults, caregivers, startups, and other partnering organizations, as well as future leaders, to accelerate the delivery of technology-based solutions that make a meaningful difference in the lives of Canadians. AgeWell researchers and the supported startups are producing technologies, services, policies, and practices that improve quality of life for older adults and caregivers. So without further ado, we're going to get a chance very shortly to watch the pitches that the 5 finalists have to deliver. And if you do want to comment on the presentations, please use the hashtag AWImpact. And if those of you that are watching live and want to watch on the Twitter feed, you can go through our handle at agewell_NCE. And we hope that you join us in that discussion as well. So we're going to start by hearing some introductions of our judging panel, and then you'll also hear from me very soon. Enjoy. Hi, everyone. So thank you to the judges for joining us for the AgeWell National Impact Challenge and the Atlantic Canada edition. We're going to get started shortly, but before we hear the first pitch, I will just give an opportunity for the judges to introduce themselves, and once they have done that, we will begin with our first pitch. So I'm going to start with Laura at NBIF, if you could go ahead.
Thanks, Michael. I'm Laura Richard. I'm the Director of Research here at the New Brunswick Innovation Foundation. NBIF, as we call it, is all about supporting innovators in New Brunswick. We do that both through venture capital funding and also through grants for applied research in the province. Some of these presenters today are people that we've seen and worked with over the years. Others are new to us, so it's really exciting to see what's going on in this space, and we're really anxious to understand how this can grow and develop in the future. Thanks.
Great, and I'll just hand it over to Ed, if you can give us a bit of background.
Hi, I'm Ed Leach. I'm Chapter Ambassador for Aging 2.0. Aging 2.0 is a global organization concerned with issues related to aging, primarily aging in place, respect for those who are aging, ageism. They have a very complete set of resources. We're working with Michael to help change that narrative. And I am the chapter ambassador. You can call me Mr. Ambassador if you wish.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Ambassador, Ed. And finally, the third judge we have here is Joan. And Joan, if you could tell us a bit about yourself and where you're coming from.
Thank you so much, and I will take full responsibility for us getting started late. Technology is not my strong point. I'm a business development officer with Innovation PEI, which is the economic development agency for the province of Prince Edward Island. And I've worked for quite a number of years with bioscience, life science companies as they're establishing. So I'm very, very familiar with companies that are at their innovation idea stage and advancing them through to full commercialization. I'm really excited to hear these pitches. Some of the technology is very familiar to me, and I'm curious to hear what distinguishes these from other technologies that are in the workplace.
Okay, great. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our first finalist, Nadia Ibanova from Sparrow Acoustics.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nadia, and I am the CEO of Sparrow Acoustics. Heart disease today is #1 condition in older adults in the world, and it's #2 for seniors in Canada. In the US alone, more than 120 million people have some form of heart disease. 20% of them are older adults, often undiagnosed until it's too late. Healthcare costs are rising each year, and in 15 years expected to reach over $700 billion only in the United States. And the percentage of aging population will double in several states and provinces of Canada, including Nova Scotia. It can be time-consuming and expensive to provide a diagnosis. In our fragmented healthcare system, a patient can go through numerous steps, numerous doctor visits and tests until they get a certain result. For a cardiac patient, this can take 6 months or more and cost the patient or a system around $10,000. Sparrow Acoustics offers a way to assess a cardiac patient in just 10 minutes. We are combining 10 years of our cardiologist co-founders' research, acoustic algorithms and filters, computer visualization, and artificial intelligence. Doctors only need an electronic stethoscope in our system. Let's see an example. Here is the visual output of one of the industry-leading systems that is used today. It's pretty, but it's missing some critical information. Here is our solution. See this valve issue and the life-threatening fistula that is very hard to find. And just compare. We bring seniors early detection of heart disease and the possibility to do regular checkups. And it's extremely important that the test can be performed right where they live, especially in the times like now when seniors are at the most risk and when COVID may cause heart issues. Effective cardiac triage is the first step to improve healthcare standards in Canada and around the world. Our market is big enough to really build something big. In the United States, with over 500,000 doctors, we have a total addressable market of over $3 billion and $6 billion for the rest of the world. And according to after COVID statistics, digital health growth rate is getting close to 30%. It's a huge global potential. As you can see, we have a significant competitive advantage in the key features. The most important is that we can identify the disease stage and red flags, helping the doctor to assist critical patients the soonest. Our strategy is to reduce the time and cost for cardiac diagnosis. We are going to do this by targeting managed care organizations, optimizing clinical workflows, decentralizing points of care, and enhancing individual care. We have the world-class team to make this happen with over 100 years of experience in cardiology, acoustics, software development, marketing and sales, and business strategy. If we win, we plan to first leverage the prize money and then hire an expert market consultant for the United States managed care market. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Nadia, and thanks for doing that pitch. With that, I'm going to hand it over to the judges for some Q&A, and I'll try to moderate as best I can. It looks like, Ed, your mic is unmuted, so if you have a question, you can go ahead.
Okay. Once upon a time, I had one of my students. She was running a brand new business, late 90s. in competition with Amazon. It failed, but what they had to end up doing, because they were all young people, they had to hire, and please, this is not gender specific, they had to hire the resident old guy that they brought in who talked with people. My experience is with managing personal health records, and we were fortunate enough to have a physician who had worked in the emergency room who could speak in our behalf. My best guess is that there are barriers, natural barriers of adoption through physicians. How will you overcome these?
Thank you. That's a great question. And actually, I would probably answer it different before the COVID. Right now, a lot of things changed, and I totally agree that it's important to have a highly experienced person to reach out to the market, and we have an expert sales guy to work with us. But also, during the COVID, people understood how important it is to have the new technologies to be able to assess people from homes or from point of care. It includes telemedicine, but it's not limited to that. So I guess right now it's actually becoming even easier, even to reach the doctors, surprisingly, even though they're so busy.
Okay.
If I can jump in with one. In what you presented, you don't really address the validation behind the technology. What sort of information do you have that can help to convince a healthcare provider that this new method is as effective as their 6-month timeline with a large barrage of tests?
So after we're done with our pre-FDA approval stage, we're going to be doing the formal validation at the hospital. Right now, we did the first trials to see that our technology works, because we have the algorithms to identify the stage of the disease. But also we did the validation of the idea itself and seeing how the doctors would react on the system that will appear. Because we were advised by our FDA regulatory consultant that we need to be very careful with like showing doctors, giving it to try right now. But even when they hear about what we do, they really get excited. And that's also the first validation that we could get even before it's really in hospitals.
Okay, thank you.
Could I get you to go to slide 10, please?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Do you want me to screen share again?
So
I think I still
talked
do.
about you've talked about your interactions with hospitals. Have you an established relationship with one of the hospitals to do your trial work with?
We have the preliminary agreements with several hospitals in Montreal about doing the tests. And we also found a group of doctors in New Brunswick. But also, since we plan to target managed care organizations, that we really looking right now into finding someone to introduce us to those areas, to organizations like Kaiser Permanente and Humana, and that will be our next step after the local hospital validation.
If I can ask another one, it sounds like you've got a number of different challenges that you need to address, like around validation, regulatory approval, connections with the hospitals. Can you explain to me why you're choosing to spend the prize money on a marketing consultant amongst all these different things you could be doing?
All the other things we're already doing, and the marketing consultant right now, this is number one thing that we need. So there are two main areas where we're working on right now is getting introductions to managed care organizations, because it takes time to get them into our loop. But also, we're still working with our regulatory consultant separately. We started this work in February. So I wouldn't say this is a challenge. This is the process. So we already created the strategy, and we just do this work, and we plan to be FDA ready by the end of this year.
Okay, and unfortunately, that's time for the judge Q&A. Thank you, Nadia, for your pitch and for those answers. At this point, we will give the judges a little bit of time to make any final notes as we prepare for the next finalist that will be pitching.
So thank you, everyone. It's great to be back here pitching at AgeWell again. We did this a couple of years ago at their event in Montreal when HomeEXCEPT was still really in version 1 phase of what we've been doing. We've been around since early 2017 and have gone through numerous pivots and iterations as we've deployed technology and tried to get this right. But the fundamental thing that we've done is we've always wanted to help people age in their home longer. And essentially, that's just with the understanding that home is better, and that is where people ultimately want to be. So now, in particular, I think what we've seen is that with COVID-19, this has brought this forward even more in people's mind, because obviously people staying at home is going to be less exposure, and it's a lot less impact to the system as a whole. So that is certainly something that is changed things since when we first started with our technology. So the technology that we originally had started was thermography based, and we are going to use thermography as well, but in the roadmap down the road, probably at some point in the fall. But one of the biggest challenges that we had with implementing our system was installation. So the system required, of course, it's hardware, it required a substantial amount of power, so you couldn't just run this off of batteries. And in addition to that, we found putting it on the ceiling was becoming very, very challenging and difficult, particularly if when it had to be wired in. So we pivoted in December of 2019, this past December, to go to more of an object-oriented structure. So looking at using the everyday things that we use in the house, and by tagging those items, we could bring in a lower power tag and still use the same type of thermal and machine learning, the processing we had developed for machine learning to understand that same pattern of life and what was going on in the home. And we kept with the original premise as well. This was all about providing information for people that you trust, what we call the circle of care, making sure that the caregivers were extremely involved and completely involved in the process, whether that's the informal caregiver, family, friends, volunteers, church individuals, or the professional caregivers like the home care providers or in-home healthcare providers as well. So the technology, we made it extremely simple. Now we've gone completely wireless. The setup, there's not even like a Google Home or an Amazon Echo. You don't even need to plug this in with Wi-Fi credentials. Essentially, the gateway, which you'd see on the right-hand side of your screen, gets plugged directly into the hub. And these beacons work on Bluetooth or a proprietary other mesh networking technology that we've developed as well. So everything, you plug it in and it connects. And the batteries on our product now will last for 2 years with the tags. The overall structure of how this works is that we've got what we call OLA, object level awareness. We obviously bring that information up into the cloud, and that is where we're processing it with our own algorithms and doing that in the Microsoft Azure cloud. The algorithms understand and begin to learn the pattern of life, and then we can send that data back out to mobile devices and also to the desktop, and we do API integrations with third parties. So essentially, this is a shot from inside one of our apps where you can see some visualization of the data. but the average user is primarily concerned with just knowing, is something that we going on that we need to be aware of. Now, one of the things I'd said about how would we leverage or use the AgeWell Award is the next phase for us is to take this platform as a service for real-time diagnostics. That you see there is a ring that was developed by a partner of ours. It's a pulse ox machine, and being able to stream that data and information in real time. So thank you for your time. That's our team that's up there, and I welcome any questions.
Great. So I'll just hand it over straight to the judges.
Thanks for that pitch, John. My first question is around your competitive advantage. I've heard of a number of other technologies that also claim to help seniors in their home through variations on this. What makes you unique?
Yeah, great question. So there is no other technology right now that uses object level awareness in the home at all. So I always describe it as there's sort of three categories. Category one is the one we all know, the push help me I can't get up button, right? Which has been around since 1975, and variations on that. But the biggest challenge when we were developing our technology with that was that people don't wear it, right? They don't have it on at the right time, or it's hanging around a bedpost. So then the next generation of in-home technologies became what was really the smart security systems. So with security systems, all they're doing is taking the traditional passive infrared motion sensors, they're taking the door sensors, and those only measure on or off, right? Did you open? Did you close? Did you move? Did you not move? And then they say that they're applying machine learning to that, but all it's doing is actually learning, okay, when it went on, when it went off. It doesn't have the additional data that we have, which includes everything from environmental data to specific movement data on the object itself, the acceleration, the location of it. So hopefully that answers your question, Laura.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Hi, John. It's Ed Leach here.
Hello,
John and I know each other well. So here's the question, John.
Yeah.
How many older people have you talked with or installed this technology? And I have vivid memories of my mom, who passed away in 2005, when I installed Lifeline out of Boston for her.
Yeah.
And there was this speaker that if she didn't speak into the speaker, this voice would come out of it, and she would tell me the demons are back. She was the most fierce and independent woman I ever met. And this sounds like surveillance to me. What kind of reactions do you have from the actual users who are going to age in place, as opposed to the circle of care, the professional volunteer, who have the best interests at heart, but are going to really annoy the seniors?
Yeah, so our founding principle with this was no cameras, no wearables, when we initially put the design challenge out. So we wanted to make sure that the technology was completely non-intrusive. So for the senior themselves, I mean, we've interviewed and prototyped and worked with, from a UX perspective and from an actual deployment perspective, with probably in excess of 150 seniors, their families, and eldest daughters to professional caregivers.
Okay.
But for the senior themselves, this technology just blends into the background. For us to be accurate, we can't have them modify their life around our tech, because we learn what is normal then and what kind of changes are occurring over a period of time. So if you have someone released from hospital, let's say for an acute care situation, and over a 3-month period, you want to be able to know, are they doing their therapy at home as they're supposed to? Are they mobile like they're supposed to? Then we need to know the baseline when they start, and we need to know what's happening and how that's changed over 30, 60, 90 days. So it's very important for our technology to be functioning properly that the senior doesn't even know it's there. And from a privacy perspective, we're never party to who or where we monitor. That is another key thing, based on what Laura was asking earlier, that really differentiates us. We use a mobile phone number to collate the data, and then we have an API that's available to the third parties. So If it's a family member looking at an app, they know the context of who and where is being monitored. If it's a third-party health provider that has detailed health record, if it's remote patient monitoring, we don't have access to that information. They make an API call, that gets authenticated and authorized by the family, and then our sensor data blends into that electronic health record. So for us, we are never party to the location and who we're monitoring. They're completely anonymous.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Last question from Joan.
Yes, just a bit on the business strategy. Who are you partnering with, or are you partnering with community care organizations? Have you already established that? I understand that this is kind of phase 2 of your technology, so others may be very familiar with it, but I am not.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely, Joan. So great question. So we've since 2017, when we started this, we've experimented with a number of different business models, probably about as many as we've experimented on the technology side as well. The one that has been most successful for us is a partnering model. So although we do have direct to consumer, and you could go on our site and order and subscribe to our service, the majority of our partners fall into a couple of categories. The main category are medical, durable equipment distributors and buying groups. So they're the ones that are already supplying the equipment to the OTs, the physiotherapists, the home care companies, the nursing homes. So things that we have in our roadmap, like COVID-19 compliance, we've got contact tracing applications, the pulse ox that you just saw, that becomes the distribution channel for us to get into that market. And for them, our business model, because we ship direct, so it's contactless, it really is, we can ship it out and it's so easy to set up. That has been and continues to be the fastest area of growth for us.
All right, so thank you again, John. And at this point, we can let the judges make some notes as we queue up the next one.
As I'm sure everyone here knows, the senior population is growing rapidly, now making up almost 20% of Canadians. The proportion of those of us 80 and over is projected to more than double to almost 5 million in the next 25 years. Now, aging is a beautiful part of the journey of life, but it can also come with challenges, including reduced mobility, stability, and independence. And about 1/3 of older adults fall every year with a cost to the healthcare system of $2 billion annually. And that doesn't include the impact on quality of life and their families. These changes can lead caregivers and loved ones to influence older adults to make lifestyle changes prematurely over concerns about safety and falls. The question is, what can we do to support older adults to age in place while providing assurances to those that care about them? My name is Alex Roberts, and I'm part of the team at Enable Analytics, where our goal is to help seniors with mobility concerns stay engaged and maintain their independence without compromising their safety. At the same time, we aim to provide their loved ones and their circles of care with the peace of mind and oversight they need. All of our devices, so at Enable Analytics, we've developed an innovative platform that lets us turn everyday objects into value-added remote monitoring tools. Combined with machine learning-based analyses, we provide regular and proactive insights about physical and behavioral health. We have developed and tested a line of smart assistive devices, including canes, walkers, and rollators. All of our devices look and feel exactly like an ordinary walking aid. Our technology is seamlessly integrated inside existing devices so that older adults can benefit from our platform without changing their habits. And many companies are focused on smart living environments, but in speaking with seniors, we've learned that this actually reinforces social isolation and reduces mobility by giving them the perception that they're trapped in their own homes. Instead, we want to encourage them to get up and go about their daily activities safely. Our technology has been developed in a lab environment, and we're now at a technology readiness level between 6 and 7. Our devices have been tested with end users in collaboration with physicians and physiotherapists. We've also partnered with mesh technologies to develop the latest generation of our hardware platform so that we can focus on our core mission of using data insights to engage with users and enable proactive interventions. With seniors adopting technology faster than any other age group, and with widespread adoption of e-health technologies due to COVID-19, now is the perfect time to launch our platform into the Canadian market. More than 1 million Canadians already use a walking aid, and as our population ages, demand will only grow. This represents a real opportunity to introduce our innovations to a growing population that's increasingly accustomed to smartphones, the internet, and a connected world. Following a razor and blades type model, our devices will be sold at near cost to facilitate adoption of the platform. The end users, either the senior, their loved ones, or their circle of care, will pay a monthly subscription fee to unlock premium features, including regular activity and trend reports and social networking. Physicians, therapists, or care facilities who may adopt the platform for multiple patients or residents can subscribe to a health professional account to receive additional medical analytics and population summaries through an alternate pricing scheme. Now, to tell you a little bit more about our team, I'm a master's student studying the use of technology to monitor how people move at the Institute of Biomedical Engineering at UNB. I hold a diploma in technology management and entrepreneurship and have previous experience with successful Fredericton-based startups. Michael Waltz is a software engineer with a passion for helping people, and he's leading the development of the latest version of our software with input from end users and clinicians. And our team is headed by Dr. Eric Sheme, the Innovation Research Chair in Medical Technologies and Director of the Health Technologies Lab at UNB. In addition to that core team, we're supported by a large and engaged team of researchers, clinicians, and collaborators. Over the last couple of years, our technologies have evolved from concept through prototype to a near commercial ready product. But our most notable achievement to date is being one of 5 teams selected as part of the first iSTEM cohort in Canada. Through this program, we interviewed 60 potential customers, conducted market research, and iterated our business model canvas. We continue to invest in user-centered software design to create an intuitive, easy-to-use, senior-friendly app. And our research is generating new IP while improving our machine learning and analytics capabilities. With the technology in its final stages of development, we aim to launch controlled community rollouts over the next year to generate early revenue while we refine our business model. Your support and the support of the AgeWell community will help us to finalize our software and begin that community-based rollout. At Enable Analytics, we strive to empower older adults to safely age in place with confidence. Our platform provides peace of mind for concerned carers and integrates seamlessly into the lives of our loved ones. With your support, we can positively impact our seniors to support wellness, engagement, and an active long life in Canada and around the world. Thank you very much. And Mike, I'd like to say thank you to you for organizing everything and to all the judges for your time here today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks for your pitch. I will just hand it over to the judges now to do the Q&A.
I'll jump in. Hi, Alex.
Hi.
Tell me a little bit about what else is available in this space in terms of smart canes and other kind of smart walking devices, and how do you stack up against those technologies?
Sure. So other smart devices have been proposed in the literature, but most of them tend to include physical interventions for niche markets like rehabilitation. The big differentiator for us is there's no behavioral change that's required from our users. They just pick up the device like they would their normal cane or walker or rollator, and away they go. Commercially, there's really nothing that's out there and ready to buy right now. You've got wearables and stuff, but people have to strap them on and make that change in their daily lives to remember to put it on, use it. So in terms of competitor space, we've got a couple elements that differentiate us, and really for us, it's the data and analytics piece that is the driver for our platform.
Thank you.
Hi, Alex. A couple of questions. This is the business model stuff. Mm-hmm. When you talked about you're going to sell at cost, how much does a cane or a rollator under your model cost?
Sure. So right now, to develop at a small scale, we're looking roughly $200 to produce them.
Okay. And next question, what's your monthly fee going to be?
And that's a great question. We had a discussion about that the other day. Right now, the vision, I think, is in the $5 to $10 range. Something like Strava or Fitbit fits in that model as well.
Gotcha. I'm just trying to give everybody else a chance to ask questions too. Dumb question. What the hell's a rollator?
Not a dumb question at all. I didn't know either. So, what It's kind of like a scooter, like a four-wheeled walker, but you can sit in it.
Yep.
So that's a rollator.
Does it have an engine in it? Does it power like a motorcycle?
No,
Or do you push it?
You just push it.
Okay, got it.
Hey, Joan, I think maybe you had questions.
Sorry, guys. I think actually you've addressed everything that I've been looking at. Just a little bit about the market opportunity. How do you market when there's so many other products in the space already? Recognizing that yours offers more than the average walker does. How do you get that message out to the community, I guess?
Sure. I mean, I think for all of us, we're busy with our work, with our lives, and now we've got children that, many more children that don't live in the same city as their parents. And that's a big market. People, maybe they check in with a phone call or they get over to visit once in a while. But really, for me anyway, I think, would I spend $200, $300, $400 to know that my mom is safe over there and up healthily moving around, like she's still good to be on her feet and living independently. So I think that's a big piece of our market. And just to show what we can offer and get it, as long as it gets out there, I think we'll have a great time taking off.
And just more on the function side, this monitors individuals and their mobility. Does it do anything to prevent, or is it a monitoring so you can see if there's a weakening of an individual's step or whatever it happens to be?
Yeah, exactly. We look for, so it's a device that you'd use every day. You walk with your cane, you go to the store, you go everywhere. So we can see the trends over time, and you can see, maybe they're starting to slow down or getting a little less stable, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Time for a quick question if someone has one.
I've got a real quick one. On your team, it's pretty engineer heavy. How have you taken any advice from medical professionals about this device and how to make it useful for them?
Absolutely. That was a big part of our iSTEM adventure, was getting out and talking just to people in the medical field and seeing what information they would like to see come out of it. And we've got a couple core members that have really been great working alongside us to do clinical trials and use it on their population. So they've been a fantastic help.
Great, thank you.
That's great. Well, thanks so much, Alex, for answering all those questions and for your pitch. At this point, as per usual, we'll give the judges a bit of time if they want to make any notes. And yes, Alex, all the best to you. Look forward to seeing where you go with that.
Good afternoon. My name is Vikram Devguptapu. I'm the founder and CEO of ServUs Health. We connect family caregivers and seniors with the right care services. I would like to say why it is so important, because a few years ago, I graduated from a business school in London, and I went back to India to spend time with my family. Suddenly, my grandfather diagnosed with a stroke and required a constant care at home. And we found it very difficult to find a speech therapist and other relevant services based on his unique needs. So we looked at Google, online classifieds, or even word of mouth, but that doesn't really provide us with a secured or validated services, because we're quite unsecured. See, we don't want to get somebody who provide a non-quality services. Unless we get sometimes we got a referral from a nurse or a physician, but then we never received a specific service, or rather we got a list of service providers. And it's very stressful and time-consuming process. Because it's up to us to really figure it out, which one is good and which one is right fit for my grandfather. And we realized that we are not alone, and there are about 19 million seniors and then about 42 million family caregivers in North America alone who are facing similar challenges. So that's why we are developing a data-driven referral platform that matches seniors and their family caregivers with services they need to enhance their quality of life. So let me explain how does it work. So we aggregate hundreds of service providers in our database that includes their service offerings and information and other past patient outcomes, and they sign up by themselves. And now a senior or older adult or their family caregivers or even the discharge unit nurse at the hospital would input some of the information about the seniors. That could be socioeconomic data, some attributes, lifestyles, or a high level of symptoms on the ServUs platform. And then we match their needs with we scan our service database, and then we match with the right relevant services. And we provide them a list of handful list of companies based on the information that they provided. So now instead of going through hundreds of service providers to see what's the right fit for them, now it would just give them like 5 to 10 that includes based on their financial needs or location or their lifestyle and attributes as well. And this list is more powerful compared to online classifieds because it is data driven and it is secured, validated. And now instead of taking hours from them, it's only take a few minutes. And on the other side, as a result of users use this app, analytical insights and metrics, including quality and connectivity of services to seniors will be generated. So how they're getting services, are they happy with the services, are they connected with the support in the community? All this will be measured from the feedback from the service providers as well as the seniors and older adults. And this data would be shared with the hospital staff so that they can visualize the patient's continuum of care post-discharge and then attenuate the risk of emergency visits or readmission to the hospital, which is very important for the hospital, not to patient get readmitted in 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. And so they could drive their healthcare system to the more value-driven. And so it's a business, so we provide this platform free for seniors and their family caregivers. However, we make money by charging the regional health authorities as well as the service providers on a yearly subscription. For instance, for the regional health authorities, the staff would be monitoring the patient's continuum of care post-discharge, so using the information generated through our database, and then per patient. So we charge a fee for the both patients as well as for the regional health authorities, as well as the service provider would pay us to be on this platform as their primary goal is to be under the radar of hospital or a nurse or a practitioner's referral thing. So that's why they pay a subscription fee. We also help them improve the quality of their service by gathering feedback from the senior, how they receive services and all. Now, we piloted our platform and we have grown to over 200 service providers and 100 seniors in our database. And we realized that 83% of them actually improved the stress and 66% actually saved their time. And during our pilot, we also generated a revenue of more than $4,000. And we also learned that there's so much of iteration to be done. So now we are at a stage to do our platform iteration where we are implementing the matchmaking and machine learning algorithms. And we hope to generate a revenue of 1 million by next year.
Okay, Vikram, unfortunately that is time. So we will now have to move to the judge Q&A portion.
Okay.
Hi, Vikram. Just a quick question. Can you tell us about how you plan to use the prize money if you're successful?
Yeah. So what we do, we currently already raised about $40,000 and about $25,000 in our thing. So what we're going to do is we have 3 goals in the next 1 year. We want to improve our platform. So we're planning to hire a developer to improve the UI, to matching with other funds that we have. So that's our main goal, to get the platform out, and then we would raise in the future further money to do business development and sales.
Thank you.
And we already have 2 pilot partners which is we're supposed to deliver our product by August in Vancouver project. So we are building that right now, so we could use the fund to make it quicker.
So you mentioned that there would be a fee for healthcare agencies to participate. Have you, during your pilot, did you get buy-in from these agencies?
We had already, there is a Vancouver, in Vancouver Health Authority, there's a Victoria Hospice, which we are already having a pilot. We got about $20,000 in that to do the pilot. So we are still negotiating, but we set a price of $150 per nurse, per staff. And we already presented to Medavi Health Services, which already confirmed. So now it's a matter of time, within 1-2 weeks, we're going to begin the Miramichi project. But we are in negotiations exactly, and things. So during our pilot, we did only with the service providers and seniors. And during the pilot, we learned that hospitals would be interested in this. So we are trying to engage them now. And we haven't done any pilot with them, but we have confirmed pilots, so which we will do.
Hi, Vikram. It's Ed here in Halifax. I have experience in congestive heart failure, PACEs, managing personal health records, and who on your team has any understanding of what the timelines for adoption are with health authorities?
So we have Dr. Bruno Battistini, who is on our team, who is doing a part-time like business and government affairs officers dealing with it. So he has a wealth of experience. He was the CEO of New Brunswick Health Research Foundation for 7 years. So he's really working closely with all the health authorities. And we are currently experiencing with New Brunswick government. It's taking some time.
So just to speed things up here.
Yeah.
All right. He goes to talk to a health authority. The value proposition is what? Given the province, the feds are out of money dealing with COVID and the support programs, and they're now going to do business with you because it's going to do what?
It would help them reduce rehospitalization of a patient after post-discharge, and they could monitor their continuum of care. We are not like very personal health information that we're collecting, but it's more focused on, are they connected with the resources, and are they getting the services that they're supposed to get? Are they quality enough? This data is really important for them to do some risk assessment to see, okay, this patient likely won't be in hospital for next 90 days, or this person probably would be in hospital in next 10 days. And this also helps the COVID. We pitch for the COVID as well, because during a crisis like this, they already, with a lot of support exists, already disconnected. The crisis like this, they completely disconnected. So this means they could actually see whether they're connected with the community and the services and how they're getting it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We do have time for another question if any of the judges have one. We have about a minute left.
You haven't discussed anything about competitors in this space. Have you looked at that?
Yeah, we did look at it. We have competitors based in US who are more focused on like patient post-discharge in the post-hospitalization, monitoring them and things like that. But they're not really focused on the seniors. They're not trying to connect with seniors and offering them services. So we are very different, that the problem that seniors are facing is connecting with the resources. We are addressing that, as well as we are focusing on helping the hospitals into monitoring the seniors at home after the post-discharge. So we work with service providers. We have a user base of seniors as well as the hospital staff. And unlike other competitors, they don't have. And we vet the service providers. It's more database driven. So, and we have a process that for service providers in our database, we go through a template that to vet and make sure they're secured.
Okay. So that is time for Q&A. So thank you, Vikram, for answering questions and for your pitch. We will give the judges time to make any notes they'd like as we bring in the last pitch.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Cullen. I'm CTO and founder of Novalte, and what we have is a managed service for independents. What does that mean? We consult with the Circle of Care to get an assessment on each of our clients' needs, and then we would deploy the relevant technologies for these individuals to enable them to overcome their mobility challenges. The service also includes managing the client's connections to enable them to connect their loved ones via smart screens anywhere in the world, an option that was always a priority, but even more now with COVID and social isolation. Our service also enables these individuals to be able to control their lights, TVs, hospital beds, temperature controls, their doors, and other smart devices. We remotely train these individuals on the features to enable them to have more comfortable, be more comfortable with the technology. The majority of our clients are voice clients, but our system also works for individuals who cannot speak. So we enable these smart home technologies to be used in the care environment, either in a facility or at home. And what's truly unique about our service is the remote features. And it's these services that remove the barrier of technology from these individuals, enabling this entire circle of care so they can just focus on the benefits of the technology provides. We do this by having an agnostic platform that can integrate into many off-the-shelf devices, as well as our own unique hardware that's been specifically designed for this demographic. We see these devices as tools, and we're the glue to make sure they all work for these individuals. What we do is we solve a user interface issue for these clients with mobility challenges, enabling them to use these smart home technologies without having to worry about the complexity of them. So individuals in facilities with limited mobility often have to rely on their caregivers to do simple tasks like changing TV channels, adjust themselves in bed, or even turning on and off a light. But due to the staffing ratios, many of these individuals can be waiting more than 20 minutes for a caregiver to respond, creating a scenario of frustration on both sides. We've seen individuals not wanting to feel like a burden to their caregivers by not asking for these simple tasks. And this happens both in facility and in community. When we give our system to these individuals, we have observed their quality of life increase. And when we ask them why, they simply say, I don't have to ask for permission to do these simple tasks anymore. I can do them for myself. I have worked in the continuum of care for over a decade, applying technologies as a tool to assist people with mobility challenges to have better control over their own living environment. One thing I've seen as a standard, clients and caregivers all see technology can be used to make the person's life better, but not easier. Not all technology is intuitive to use or even fix when it stops working. And it's this complexity where many organizations and loved ones never truly bring the potential of these tools to assist their loved ones. What better way to be able to talk about our system than have one of our clients?
Jackie, can you tell us a little bit about, what you're observing, the impact of the technology is for the staff that are working?
That is the hardest part for the staff. Right now, they come into my room and they're constantly, can I do something for you? It's like, no, I can do it myself. And it's such a gratifying feeling to be able to say no. And I think it bothers them more because they feel kind of helpless. I think when I go to bed, if I go at 6 o'clock tonight, the only time they come in now to water me. That's about it. Give me a drink and send me on my way. I can do my bed, I can do my TV, lights, music, everything. It is amazing.
So all of this, and you're not a tech person?
No, and it's all done by voice. And that's what I mean, a voice with an action now.
So it's pretty impactful what our technology can do. An awful lot of the deployments were all driven by the actual caregivers trying to get the system out to help more individuals. We've also deployed the system to individuals a lot older than Jackie, like 93 years old. And when we give the system to the person and done the training, we asked, how did you find it? And she compared it to back in the day when she'd call the operator to connect her to somebody, and she'd just say, hey, do this. It was the same features. And this is what we do. We deploy technology for seniors and their caregivers, and we remove the complexity of the technology away. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. I'll hand it over to the judges.
Hi, Michael. Can you tell us a little bit about the go-to-market strategy for this? Is it going to be via partnership with other people selling devices, or?
Yeah, so our go-to-market is B2B. So we sell to organizations that support individuals with mobility challenges. We never reinvent the wheel. If the technology already exists, like the Google systems, we build off it. The tools that we do build is the hub that reconfigures the communication on a local level. We have partnered up with Best Buy to do an awful lot of our installs across the entire country. And we're just starting to explore getting into the States now.
Okay, and so just building on that, how would you be using the funding money to further your enterprise if you're successful?
We have one of the leading firmware engineers in Canada. He built out the Ecobee system and Home Harmony Hub. He's in the wings waiting to start, and we'll be using the funding to kick off that. We've already had sales of nearly $500,000 across Canada so far this year.
Thank you.
Hi, Michael. It's Ed.
Hey, Ed. How's it going?
Yeah, that shadowy figure you saw in the background was he was speaking was me on my 70th birthday. Why would care homes not invest in surveillance technologies versus enabling technologies? And the word I wrote down here was, I see dignity being provided to the person you're working with. And it's such simple stuff.
Yeah.
There's no information being reported to anybody. It is for them. So what's the deal here? Why is that important versus the surveillance piece?
So one of the big aspects, what we do is we control the communication on a local level, and that's one of the big advantages of being like what we do. And we can enable off-the-shelf smart home technology to work in this environment. Without our hub, that stuff doesn't work very well. It's not very successful deployments on an enterprise level system. And what we do is we collect the information on a local level, de-identify it before it gets to the internet. And it's this methodology that we use to be able to do our training on site, like totally remote to these individuals. And by solving that, the issue for the clients, we create this bottom-up effect. The clients no longer are calling on the caregivers to do these simple tasks. The caregivers can manage their time better, not feeling as stressed. And what we found is for the organization, we give about 45 minutes a day return time to the organization for staffing. So for, let's say, a long-term care facility with 80 clients, 10 would be heavy care, we return 1 full FTE a month to the organization, enabling the caregivers to be a lot more efficient with their time and provide a higher level of service. And that's where we're seeing an awful lot of traction with our early customers.
Thank you.
So just a clarification, you are connecting the smart devices to assist the patient or the client.
Yeah.
Did I understand you correctly that this information can also be disseminated out to their care group? So folks who are, let's say I'm a daughter and I'm sitting in the other side of the country. Mm-hmm. Can I see or know what is happening with my parent?
Yeah. So that, but the information is fully de-identified. So what you would see is like your mom, your dad has moved their hospital bed. They turned on the light. They turned on the TV, and it's that passive interaction that we use as a qualifier for increasing quality of life.
Okay.
You probably have time for a quick question if anyone has one.
So kind of building on the other comment about, why wouldn't care facilities invest in monitoring systems? Do the care facilities, the early adopters of this technology, are they buying into this independence? And I understand, you've indicated it's freeing up time for the caregivers to focus on other things. But, you know, when the rubber hits the road, are they going to step up and pay for this technology in a long-term care facility?
Yeah. So there's two different ways for the organization to care. One of the methods that we're talking is for us to sell the systems to the organization, and then the organization sell it to the clients as an added value. Hey, Joe, you can get the service, it can connect you to your loved ones, and we manage the entire thing. So it's an upsell. And while getting the upsell, we create this efficiency throughout the entire organization. And depending on who we're selling to, like retirement home, long-term care, or rehab, the pain point is different to each one of these organizations, but the value that we return is always the same.
Okay. So that's actually time for the Q&A. So thank you, Michael, for going through all those questions and for doing your pitch.
Yep.
So good to hear about your technology, and look forward to seeing what's next. All right. So first of all, I'd like to thank our judges, Joan, Laura, and Ed, for their insightful questions and really the unenviable tasks of selecting a winner. You know, with the obvious challenges we're seeing today for older adults, it's really encouraging to see AgeTech startup companies and entrepreneurs in Canada putting forward this kind of passion and innovation to improve life for older adults and caregivers. I think we all support this, and at AgeWell, we really look forward to working with startups like these to help them make that impact that they're looking to make. So we're going to announce our winner soon, as well as the winner of our audience prize, the Kobo e-reader. But as we prepare for that, we're actually very fortunate today to have three great panelists talk to us about the future of innovation in technology and aging. And because it's not a long panel discussion, I'm going to keep my remarks brief, and I'm going to just go straight to introducing the panelists, and I will then let them speak a little bit more about who they are and where they're from before we get to the questions. So first of all, I'd like to start by introducing Zayna. Zayna Khayat is a future strategist with SE Health. And Zayna, if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and your organization, that would be great. And I'll just mention quickly that we do have a Slido poll if you'd like to submit any questions for the panelists. You can see the access code on the screen there. It's 26284, and you can go to www.sli.do and submit any questions you have. So Zayna, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and SE Health.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. So I lead the futures team for St. Elizabeth Healthcare. We're a 112-year-old, primarily home care and seniors health organization that operates across Canada with around 9,000 staff. And we visit something like 21,000 aging adults every day in their home to deliver all ranges of care to keep them healthy in the home of their choice. And my team is kind of protecting a space to design and test next practices, care models, including emerging technologies that will become the normal way we do care in the future, but it's certainly not there yet today.
Great. And John Hamblin, you wear many hats. I have you listed as a co-founder of Halifax's Startup Canada and Aging 2.0 chapters, but I know you do a lot more than that. So maybe you could tell us a bit more about yourself. Looks like John is still on mute. Matt, if you could.
Okay, I'm unmuted, I believe.
Yes.
My name is John Hamblin. I have invested in a few startups. I also mentor and advise startups in the Halifax area. I founded a chapter of Aging 2.0, which is a worldwide organization based in Silicon Valley that aims at products and services geared to the health and seniors markets. I'm also involved in a couple of projects here that involve seniors and people with severe disabilities. and I happen to fall in the senior demographic, so I have a particular interest in living well and living long at home.
Great. And finally, Jeff White is CEO at New Brunswick Innovation Foundation, one of the sponsors for our event, and I know an organization that's really important for New Brunswick startups and businesses to pursue innovation. So, Jeff, if you could give us a few remarks.
Sure, thank you. Happy to be here, and we're happy to be supporting the event. It's in a key area, I think, for our region and for our country. A little bit about NBIF. It's a 15-year-old organization. It is 100% publicly funded by the province of New Brunswick, and we do two things. We fund applied research with academic institutions and research institutions based in New Brunswick, but typically are doing that in a collaborative way across the STEM and social sciences area. We fund students, research assistants, and actual projects themselves. That's one big part of our business. And the other part is we are a pre-seed early stage venture capital fund in the intellectual property business. So sometimes we see things come out of research that then go on the pathway to commercialization. And we see quite a number, I should say, of startup companies across various sectors. But the key is we're usually in the middle of that is some piece of technology or intellectual property. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we're going to get started with some questions for the panel. And Zayna, I'm going to start by asking you this, but I'd like all the panelists to chime in. Basically, in light of how the world is right now, but also even after this pandemic, what kind of needs do you expect to arise, and where do you see the biggest need for innovation to benefit older adults? You know, what do you expect from Canadian innovators in the space in the future?
So, as many of you might know, and Mike, you can share the link if you want to the participants. We spent about a year doing discovery to write a book called The Future of Aging, where we explored this exact question to really make sure we're focusing on where the biggest needs are. And so I'd say out of the different categories of innovation that benefit this segment of our society, I don't think the needs have changed. Like, I don't think anything comes off or gets added, but certainly some of the important innovation areas are amplified because of what's going through. So just a few buckets to frame them. You know, there's obviously a lot going on in healthcare. And I think the big shift is from life extension as the focus, like staying alive as long as possible, to, you know, having your health span match your lifespan. So I think that's a very different orientation to healthcare and aging. I think this idea that nobody's ever actually old at one point in time, there's no blunt segmentation. So this idea of technology that enables what we call age fluidity, like you dip in and out of different states, and innovations need to support that. It's not a one-time event of different states. And that is not how we do things in Canada. We love being one size fits all. And I think there's some very specific clinical condition areas that we have a lot of work to do. Polypharmacy, dementia, comorbid mental health, mobility and movement, palliative, end of life, and frailty. And I think in any of those medical or clinical areas, I think what COVID has amplified is two things. New channels to access those services, because there's a whole new pattern of behavior around being afraid to go to a clinic or a hospital. And so, you know, just new ways to reach people that honor and respect their new patterns of behavior, and then just better continuity, because everyone's going through a lot of upheaval right now. Just some other areas that have nothing to do with healthcare that I think are even more exciting is the whole family caregiver economy. There's going to be a whole economy emerging, and we're just getting there in Canada. And then the third area is just completely new models of housing and living. We, again, have one size fits all housing models and living models, and that ain't going to work for the future aging population. So this is around isolation and independence and living in place, security, safety. I mean, everything about the built environment. There's so much to do. And then finally, I think there's a whole explosion that's going to happen of the economy of aging. So how people spend money, save money, transfer wealth. work, retirement, rewirement, so many new enabling ways to retain purpose in life and deal with economic uncertainty. And I think we really have not innovated very much in that area. So I'll stop there. I think those are a lot of topics. That's what we cover in the book.
Yeah, no, certainly there's definitely so much in this space. You know, sometimes people talk about this AgeTech sector or aging in general as a niche market, but really there's so much there. So I think that's what you've said speaks to that. I want to hand it over to Jeff now to see from his perspective what he thinks about this space in the future, and also, you know, maybe Canadian innovators and their role.
Thank you. Yeah, so to build on what was just presented, I'm going to take that given. I'll defer to the experts on that one. And we've seen some of that type of activity in some startups that we've seen coming along. I'll give one that I don't know if we've talked a lot, and it may be embedded. What about productivity? What about the seniors who have, for some reason, physical or otherwise, are not at 100% mobility and others, but want to be engaged in adding back to the economy? And this comes from a friend. We've talked about how do you engage those remotely? How do you provide tools that might be around healthcare, work differently, but stay engaged? You know, I'll say you retire, but you really don't retire. You retire from one job that might have had you physically moving around at a location, but now you've got all this knowledge, all this information, this mentorship, but that can all be transferred back to the economy. And that can be in the form of still employed or part-time employed, but how do we look at that as the technology platforms that could be, and tools and tricks, and that involves the companies themselves that are on the other side of that to think about that. Look to our aging population as a deeply informed, experienced, you know, we was often called the corporate Bible will go out the door when people retired and nobody knew about it. Well, that doesn't have to happen in today's economy or in today's technology world. And, you know, COVID might have been some of that. You know, this crisis, we saw a lot around health related issues and the challenges and the drastic things that were happening, which were terrible. Yet there's probably knowledge there that we can connect with. So we think of that as another area where it's a asset pool for us, for our economy, for our people. It's a massive opportunity to bring more of that back into the economy, and that's just to build on top of the other healthcare. So that's kind of an area I've thought about.
Absolutely.
I think you mentioned about innovators, and like, yeah, I'll take that. I mean, the good innovators will go talk to those people. They have to go talk to your customers, and those that are the ones that, you know, we don't need to go tell. If you go tell a customer what they need, they usually, you know, that's not going to work. So this is a group that are a new group of customers. It's a new market, and what are some of the things we could do? So I think engaging with those, and then turn it back to the tech crew and figure out identify the problem, identify a market, and then we'll get the technologists to work on building it and the distribution channels to get it to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've raised some really, really important points there. I mean, just that different point of view of looking at older adults and all that they can and do contribute to the economy and society. You know, it's very important to maintain that point of view. And like you said, you know, we're very big on co-creation with older adults at AgeWell, and I'm sure everyone on the panel would agree with the importance of getting those insights. John, I can only imagine the different kinds of inputs you would have on this topic. So, you know, I've wanted to leave it to you.
Yeah, I guess the previous two speakers covered a whole raft of different areas, and you can see that there's millions of opportunities relating to seniors. You know, I retired from my previous job in 2015, and since then I've been more busy than ever before because I'm involved in a variety of startups and projects and other things. And I think that what COVID-19 has really done is open the eyes to health departments, health practitioners, the governments and others as to how important it is to keep people living happily and well at home. And this goes both ways. It's, for seniors who have skills and have the ability to do them and want to continue working, then there's all kinds of potential to use them as part-time workers, as remote workers, just as most other people are doing right now. And on the other side, if you go back 2 years, we did a few surveys, and 85% of the people, one of their main interests in life was to stay at home and live well and not go anywhere else and be in their community. And, since COVID-19, this has actually exacerbated this response. And, I'd say it's pretty close to 100% now with all of the issues that have come to be seen. So the opportunities with regards to some of the ones that we're presenting today to the Age Well in terms of sensors and telehealth and helping seniors do whatever they want to do from home, whether it's continue working or proactively treat them, do medical examinations, etc. The whole concept has, I think what COVID-19 has done is kick-started something that should have happened years ago.
Yeah, no, and I think we're hearing a lot about that, how COVID-19 has accelerated some of these much needed changes. So before I go on to the next question, I mean, did based on what we've heard here, did any of the panelists want to add anything else?
No, I agree. I just think you can see that there's a pattern that everyone thinks everything in innovation and aging is like tech for old people to like live independently and have a smart home and healthcare. And like, that's not at all what excites the three of us, right? There's so much other opportunity. So I think that's a really important message.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go on to our next question, maybe moving more on some of the challenges that startups face. And as any entrepreneur will know and tell you, that even at the best of times, the most bountiful of times, securing funding is always a challenge. Obviously, that has become harder than ever with what's happening now. But what I want to ask the panel about is, in terms of this investment space, of this AgeTech kind of investment space, what are your thoughts on the future of this sector in terms of how well it's going to be able to attract investment, and how often you'll see startups become kind of runaway successes because of that, especially with what we've talked about, the way COVID-19 has kind of accelerated certain needs and focused people's thinking. So I'm going to start with Jeff on this question, and I'd really love to hear your thoughts.
Sure, thanks. So like anything, the world of capital, I'm assuming I'm going to speak from equity capital, which is you're selling ownership to start a fund. There's all kinds of public funded and IRAP and SRC, NRC and some others that you can look at. But from the venture capital world, we've seen over the last 3 to 4 years some new funds show up. BDC is one of the largest ones in the country, has its own health, they call it the healthcare fund. So often you'll find AgeTech underneath the healthcare because it starts there. People start to think about that. So we've seen some of that start to occur. The market, if you think about the market from an opportunity, if you took the aging population as the customer base, potential customer base, it's getting close to its peak, right? Because we have a wave going through, and then it's going to flatten out a bit or come down from that group. But it's a chance to build what could be formative changes that will be foundational and stay across, if you're going to stay with healthcare, I think we'll put some things in place that become consistent from here on in. So I think the opportunity is big. There's 2 ways to think about it. Are you going to the corporate market, or do you have to go through the public health market? And that really dictates what happens in the venture capital world. So certain life science, if you're in that area, they can handle the timelines and pathways associated with the public health market because it's long. We know it's a long procurement, a long diligence period, not because it shouldn't, but that's just the nature of it. But if you go into, I'm going to use the word private and maybe allied health, I've heard it different ways, but I think of it at the private market, then the opportunity to get to a market might be faster. That would include directly to the customer being the senior. it could be to a family member, it could be another company. So that's the faster pathway. And in a lot of traditional venture capital markets who have a timeline on their money, 5 to 10 years, that's where you'll see fast new startups occur, because the big gorillas own the public health system. There's brand names or global names around the equipment, and it's hard to break your way into it. So I think that's where it happens. I would like to think that we'll see some of the aging population participate as investors in this, because there's a huge opportunity. That's another idea to consider. Could they be part of the funding model for some of these new startups, which leads me back to where I said earlier, talking to your end customer to determine if what you're building is relevant, and it's a great way to raise it. So I think those are just some themes. I don't think it'll be a niche, but I think it'll be spiking over the next 3 to 5 years as there's a race to get to these places, and then we'll see it settle out and maybe start to look a bit more stable.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's really important insight given where you're coming from. So it's really appreciated. And I think, John, you've been on different sides of this, and whether it's mentoring startups or probably starting your own initiatives, or even, I believe, investing, you probably have a lot you can add to this discussion.
Yeah, well, I think that the seniors market, as they say, worldwide, there'll be 2 billion seniors by 2050. So there's a lot of people out there in a lot of markets, and in North America, some very wealthy seniors. And I really like Jeff's comments about getting seniors more involved in the investing side. But I think there's, I was on an angel list call yesterday where they were talking about getting more involved in health and seniors. And I think if you look at some of the big successes in terms of, I guess you'd call them late stage startups, companies like Amazon and Google and Best Buy Health are acquiring all kinds of companies in that space in terms of, companies that do home delivery of pharmaceuticals, companies that do that, and it's making the press all the time. And it's, literally there were, 50 major takeovers of late stage startups by big companies in the last year. And all of them have now set up, Google Ventures has an arm that looks at health and seniors, and Amazon is the same way. And, so I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities for success if you develop something that is really needed by seniors.
Great. Yeah, and I think between those two points of input there, we can see that obviously the demographic shift is there. We know that, and there, logically, you would say there could be more potential there for investment. But I like John just said, clearly there are bigger companies now that are taking a more active role in that space, and whether it's through acquisition or starting their own initiatives, we're getting a sense of that. Now, Zayna, I know SC Futures does some interesting things themselves in terms of developing innovation and supporting it. I wonder from that perspective, or even your role as a futurist, what you think is going to happen, how this will play out.
Yeah, so I totally agree with Jeff. I think the venture capital model makes zero sense for a health-based application. It's just the two worlds do not match from a timeline and everything. So it is a very different approach to capitalize something where you're going right for the jugular of like healthcare. That's, different types of business models, performance-based contracts, impact bonds. There's all these other ways to finance the development of a solution. And so it is more the kind of consumer markets that are going to explode and that could leverage venture capital. I will say that, the problem I have with most tech that is trying to play in a space that is a public good, so, an aging society or health or even education and all that, is we're just too excited about the tech. And most things that are a public good that still, have messy problems like climate change, education, healthcare, aging, it's because there's a whole system that has to change to allow that technology to do what we think it can be. And that's kind of not the skill set of a tech entrepreneur. And I don't think it's a skill set of the capital markets that finance them. So I think it's going to be really hard to get anybody to scale and grow, because you need a way to change the system around the aging person to then let whatever product is in there grow. And that's where, to me, the play for capitalizing this is going to be amazing distribution partnerships or strategic partnerships with like a Best Buy or Procter & Gamble or AARP or whatever, that get you some vector to scale, because it'll be very difficult for an entrepreneur to take that on themselves. And that's exactly what we see. I mean, I used to support 200 health startups when I was at Mars. Most exited to a corporate or died. Very, very few made it, very few through the traditional VC pathway. So that's kind of what we think about. And we put our money where our mouth is. I mean, we do invest in startups we're a nonprofit charity. But we will capitalize a partner if we think we want them to work with us, and we provide the distribution to get to the patients.
Yeah, no, it's I always found that interesting, because when people maybe first think of St. Eliz or SC Health, we don't initially realize that you guys do all of that too. And obviously, with your background, even at Mars and the innovation space there, you would have seen some, well, probably lots of failures and some successes in the healthcare sector for sure. And it is a challenging space. I would agree. I think those were definitely very important points about, if I take it back specifically to aging, there are such complex issues and problems here that, yes, certain innovations that can play a major role, but there's so much that has to happen around that to kind of, make it possible to give those innovations an opportunity to even make an impact. So it's definitely not a simple problem, as it's probably obvious to everyone. I'm going to go again back to the panel and see if anyone wanted to add anything based on anything that you've heard here regarding this space.
I'll just say a couple of things. I'm involved in a group called Arizona Angels, which is a fund in a funding organization in Arizona. And at no point in time had they ever looked at anything that involved seniors or aging as something that they would invest in until recently, and they found a couple that made perfect sense. But I think it's still I know what you call it, not the number one thing that equity investors and funds are looking for. And I think the whole approach that the Amazons, the Googles, the Best Buy Health and the like are doing is, they recognize that their strength is not really developing products or services for seniors, but they have all of the marketing, distribution, and other things needed to make a product a success. So I think there's the fact that they are on a regular basis acquiring technology. And each organization, I know Google has a senior person reporting to the president that has been put in charge of aging technology and what they should do, and it's of huge interest to them. So I think that's a matching up with that kind of. There's a Nova Scotia-based company that developed a long-term care facility management system that connected itself through various conferences with a U.S. long-term care provider who recognized the value of the product, invested in it, and is helping them scale it and install it in 70 facilities that they own now. And that's the kind of connections that I think will help startups get going much more than going out there and getting venture capital right now.
True. Yeah, I would second part of the opinion there that yes, funding investment's always really important, even crucial in some ways to startups, but there's a lot more in terms of the connections and the right partnerships to ensuring ultimate success. So thanks for raising that. Jeff, I see you may have something to add.
No, I think we covered it quite well. Yeah, for sure.
Great. Okay, so I'm actually seeing here a question from the audience that I'm going to try to read here and synthesize. It's actually coming from the UK, so it's great to have an audience in the UK as well. And it's saying that here in the UK there is a kind of negative perceptions of age tech, and it can be a real barrier for uptake. So they're asking, is this common in Canada, and if so, how do you overcome it? And maybe related to that question seems that they're saying, I guess there's a demographic shift, but you know, are there really clear routes to market for these products? Because they feel, at least in the UK, a consumer market for kind of enabling technologies or technologies in, you could say, age tech is not really mature at this point. And I guess the question is, what's the state in Canada, and how can this be addressed? I think this really feeds off what we've been talking about already. So I'm just going to temporarily stick with you, John. I don't know if you want to get started on that. If not, then I'll go to elsewhere.
I don't have a problem. I'm actually on, as I mentioned, this committee, this Crossing the Digital Divide, with actually two of the members are from the UK, one from Vienna and the others from Australia and other places. You know, and I think I think in terms of, if we're talking about age tech and the use by seniors, COVID-19 has tremendously increased both their interest and use. And there's all kinds of studies being done now that are showing that, you know, because you couldn't visit, you couldn't see your loved ones, that there's much more uptake for video conferencing and tablets and Amazon Echo and devices like that. And that seniors who really, and I know many of them, are, you know, not the least bit interested in smartphones, and still purchase in the US 3 million flip phones a year, you know, have suddenly realized that there's something out there that can help them stay and live happily at home. And so I think there's a true shift going on right now in terms of the acceptability of tech to the seniors living at home.
Great. Zayna,
Yeah,
yes.
I would add, like, I don't know what the question is. Is it, you know, I think John's hypothesis, is it around old people don't use tech? I fundamentally disagree with that. And the data shows that. And even before COVID, I think the problem is we segment seniors into one segment. Like, what other industry has a segment of one? And so there's massive micro segmentations along a bunch of dimensions. And one is acumen, perhaps, with technology. And then you just tailor your offering for the segmentation. And I think, like, you know, just look at the data. I mean, I think among the best users, for example, in the world for gamification and gaming technologies, video game, is the aging population. It's nobody else. So I think just get the facts and just be careful around perception. And then, you know, I don't know that Canada is any different from the UK. I mean, I work with the UK a lot as well, whether that's on the consumer side or not. But what I will say is, remember, there's two customers now, and Jeff alluded to it. I think it's really important. There's the aging adult themselves and whatever they need to and want to live. And then there's their family caregiver. And you know, whether they're wealthy or not, you know, there is no amount of money that is too much to keep my loved ones safe and independent and help me connect to them when I don't live in the same city. And that's how it is. So there's really two markets to serve here. And that second market is a more traditional kind of consumer market. It's me. It's the 50-year-old female with aging parents and kids and all that. So I think there's massive opportunity. I just don't think people have designed the right solutions to meet our aging population where their aspirations are.
That's yeah, those points definitely resonate with I'm sure a lot of the audience and us. I mean, you know, I know we've done some surveys of our own with the aging population in Canada, and for sure there are a lot of misconceptions about people's comfort and readiness and eagerness to use, you know, technology and innovation. And speaking for Canada, and I would imagine other places, and you know, like you said, a segment of one, you know, not looking at it. That's something we hear a lot about. You know, some of our partners, even in marketing in the space, talk about that. How unfortunately, even marketers have not really taken as much of an effort as they should have to understand how this segment can be broken down and they kind of look at it in one way without really properly breaking that down. So I think that's important to bring that up. Jeff, I know you haven't had a chance to chime in here.
It's very, I would concur. There was a thought that was coming to my mind as you think, in general about selling technology to any group is if we keep trying to sell another widget, if your approach is, I need to put another gadget, another widget, I'm just looking at my desk, like it's a Fitbit, a phone, a laptop. If you can think about what platform is already there and leverage it and just think of that as your customer base, that might help accelerate it. And it might be a strategy to think about circumventing. Does it have to go down, down the another distribution channel that might work? And you can think, is that an app or is that delivery of productivity tools that can be used and become platform agnostic? So there's just another strategy to think about. How do you get there? Because there is technology clutter that can get on physically on your desk. And if I took my own example of in my own family, bringing, it took me. And I thought this was really good. My 82-year-old mother-in-law, about 6 to 7 minutes to get from start to finish to get on this platform on her iPad. That took me longer to get some of my staff on that, and I had to do that remote I'm on the landline because we don't want to use the iPad to communicate. But that's all it took, and off you go. So I think don't underestimate the strength, and that's where I go back to value and the productivity that's in this group of our population, which is super, super, super.
Great, thanks so much. So I know we're actually kind of running up on time for this panel, and I'm sure there's so much more that we could learn from each of you. Honestly, it's been really great to hear all your different perspectives and opinions that came out of this. I think the audience got a lot out of it. So thank you to Jeff, Zayna, and John for giving us of your time and your expertise and insights on this. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
So for the audience, I know that there were some more questions. We will take a look at those offline and see if we can help address them for you and give you some more input there. But right now, we are going to go on to the last stage of this, and that's to announce all the different people who have won things. And what we'll do to start is I'm just going to announce the winner of our audience prize, which is a Kobo Clara HD e-reader. And the person who won that, I have it written down here, is Ryan Churchill. So Ryan Churchill, I hope that you are on watching this live stream now. You can reach out to us directly at info@agewell-nce.ca, and you can find those details on our website, agewell-nce.ca. Reach out to us and we will get that to you. Thank you to Rakuten Kobo for donating this prize for our audience. And now what I'd like to do before going on to our winner is to thank our sponsors. So there are a lot of different sponsors and supporters that made this series of competitions possible, and including this one. So I'd like to take a moment to thank Aging 2.0 Halifax chapter, the BC Seniors Living Association, Berskin and Parr LLP, CARP, IBM Canada, the Impact Center out of the University of Toronto, Innovacore, Innovation PEI, the New Brunswick Innovation Foundation, Ontario Brain Institute, Spectrum Healthcare, and UR Unlimited. And in particular for this competition, I'd really sincerely like to thank our regional sponsors and supporters, which are New Brunswick Innovation Foundation, Innovacore, Innovation PI, and the Halifax chapter of Aging 2.0. Really, without this kind of integral support you had to help us get the word out in your region and all the backup and behind the scenes support, we wouldn't have been able to put on this event. So thank you very much for that. Finally, I just want to let everyone know who's watching that we will have another competition coming up in July. So I would welcome you to join us for that live stream. It's going to take place on July 9th, and it's going to be from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll have more great pitches there. And I really hope that you're able to join us and see what we have. We'll also have a really great panel to share with you at that point. So now I'm going to announce the winner of our 2020 AgeWell National Impact Challenge, Atlantic Canada edition. So firstly, we actually have a prize that goes from one of our sponsors, Bearskin and Par. It's a prize for the IP Innovation Prize through Bearskin and Par, valued at $2,500, and to assist the startup in their IP protection. And this prize is going to Sparrow Acoustics. So congratulations to Sparrow Acoustics for that prize. We will be in touch with you, and we look forward to working with you on that. Now, while this is not unprecedented, we did actually end up having a rare outcome. The deliberations by the judges ended in a tie. And for this reason, we actually have two winners. And so each winner is going to receive membership in the AgeWell Startup Affiliate Program to help drive them forward and increase their impact. They'll get access to IBM Startup Cloud credits valued at $12,000. And each of them will receive a cash prize of $10,000. So congratulations to the two winners in no particular order. And the winners of the National Impact Challenge are Enable Analytics and Novalte. So congratulations to both of these startups. I believe we're actually going to let both of them join now and allow them to say a few words. And to simplify things, I'm going to start by letting Michael Cullen of Novalte say a few words if you would like. So Michael, are you online?
Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Wow, I'm shocked. This is absolutely fantastic. When Novalte came into existence about like 4 or 5 years ago, I met with Alex from AgeWell to go through the idea and the hypothesis of it. So like AgeWell had been a massive part of the evolution about who we are. And yeah, as I said, I'm shocked.
Great, it's fantastic. Well,
thank you so much.
Absolutely, and I think the work that Novalte is doing, if for those of you who are not familiar with it, is really impactful and meaningful. I encourage you to see what they're doing out in the East Coast and beyond. I know that they have exciting news up ahead and exciting partnerships to build on. So I'm certainly looking forward in my capacity, and I know the team at AgeWell is to work with Michael and the team at Novalte. So Alex from Enable Analytics, likewise, you are, I guess, a co-winner of this prize, and it was really great to see your pitch and what you're doing with your technology. So if you have anything to say, now's your chance.
Yes, I mean, thank you very much to everyone, all the sponsors, to the judges, to the panelists, and to AgeWell. Congratulations to Michael and Novalte. I mean, we're thrilled to be part of this AgeWell unit now and to just kickstart our company and drive it into the community.
Great, and yeah, really excited to see where you go. I know you have a lot of innovation there kind of under the hood and a lot of different solutions and products that can come out of it. So really looking forward to working with Enable Analytics and watching you guys take those next steps in the coming year and beyond. So thanks again for participating. And with that, we have the end of our show. I'd really like to thank the audience for sticking with us with this virtual event. I know that it's a little bit different than doing it in person, and it's our first time doing a pitch competition this way. So it's really great to have had people participate, and I thank you again to our panelists and those who pitched, as well as our judges. And thank you to the audience. I'd like to extend an invitation to you. If you have not engaged with AgeWell in the past, please visit our website and take the time to see if there's anything you'd like to learn or any way you'd like to contribute. As I mentioned during our panel discussion, we're really big on co-creation, whether it's what we do ourselves, the research we support and fund, or the startups we work with. We always encourage that from the very earliest stages. And perhaps you have some ideas that you'd like to contribute and some input you'd like to give. And if that's the case, by all means, please do reach out to us and check out our website. So with that, I'd really hope to see you all on July 9th. Thank you to everyone, and we'll wrap it up there.